All right, here's my loot drop review of The Smashing Machine. So I went tonight to go see Dwayne Johnson's and Emily Blunt's new movie, The Smashing Machine, and I gotta tell you, I left pretty disappointed. This is not a great movie. Now, it's not terrible. It's not like a horrendous movie that you shouldn't go see, but um, it wasn't as good as I had really had hoped it would be. So, spoilers ahead if you haven't seen it. But I will tell you, let's talk about some of the highlights first. Dwayne Johnson, he delivers an excellent performance in this movie. I mean, honestly, top tier, definitely his best acting performance of all time. So it's no wonder that there's early hype around him and Oscar buzz around his performance. And Emily Blunt, I actually didn't even realize she was in this movie. Did a really good job of playing his counterpart. I thought that the prosthetics and makeup, honestly, there were times that Dwayne Johnson was unrecognizable in this role, which is really hard to do with someone with the physical presence of Dwayne Johnson. Now, I will say that a couple of things with his performance took me a little bit out of the movie. There were a couple of times where he was called on to be emotional and to cry in the movie, and I thought that in those times he did a pretty poor job. I mean, clearly did way better than I could myself, but I just really, I don't know. They did a lot of cover up, so when you're watching the movie, you'll see him hiding his face when he's crying and things like that, and it was because it just didn't feel authentic. So aside from that, however, the rest of his performance I thought was truly flawless. So hats off to Dwayne Johnson and his portrayal of Mark Kerr in this movie. So let's talk about the things that I didn't like. I will tell you right off the bat, I don't know what the point of the story was supposed to be. So I know that they tell you right up front at the beginning of the movie that this will be about Mark's life in between 1997 to 2000, and they cover several points of his life and several events that happened in his life in that time frame. But I will tell you, they didn't spend enough time on any of those events to make me invested and to make me care. And so when they talked about his drug addiction, they showed a few times where it really got to him and how it was affecting him, and how it ultimately ended up, him losing a match. But then right away, quickly, he went to a stint in rehab, which we didn't even see him in rehab. Like they kind of brushed over that. He got out, was clean. Then he started having more issues with his toxic relationship with Emily Blunt's character. They break up. All of a sudden, she's back out of nowhere. They have issues one more time, and then they ended up, I guess, getting married later on down the story road. And then his struggle with trying to really combat his mental health and the fact that he lost a match and things like that. Um, it just they wanted to tell a lot of these events, but didn't spend enough time to flush them out, and it honestly just made it feel very pointless. And by the end of the movie, I was kept because I didn't know the story of Mark, so I was waiting for some kind of tragic ending or her heroic triumph, and like we didn't get either one of that. And I know that this is a true story, so you got to tell the actual events. I just don't know if this was a story that needed to be told. And I'm not a UFC guy. I understand that the character that The Rock was playing was a pioneer in the sport, and I can appreciate that. But ultimately, I just didn't feel like the story was a story that needed to be told. And I thought at the end of the day, it felt that way. Like it just kind of felt bland and pointless. And by the end of the movie, I got up and walked out of the theater thinking like I really wasted the last 2 hours of my life watching this. And so it was nice seeing The Rock play something a little bit different. Like he wasn't just an amplified version of himself in this movie. So honestly, a really good job there on the acting performance from Dwayne Johnson in this movie. It's about it though. So if you haven't seen the Smash Machine, I don't know why you listen to a spoiler um, review of this movie. But to be honest, there really wasn't a whole lot to spoil. The movie, it just didn't hit. So, but yeah, I guess let me know what you think in the comments. I'd love to be able to hear what your thoughts are. But for me, it was kind of a bust.